All right, hello and welcome to The Trade. Let's get you caught up on what traders are watching out there. Donald Trump chose Ohio US Senator J.D. Vance to be his vice presidential running mate as the Republican Party officially nominated the former president to run again for the White House on Monday at the start of the party's national convention in Milwaukee. Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell said that the three US inflation readings over the second quarter of the year add somewhat to confidence that the pace of price increases is returning to the Fed's target in a sustainable fashion. Remarks that suggest a turn to interest rate cuts may not be far off. Chinese leaders will have no illusion on the challenges they have to tackle in the second half and beyond, as some 370 top-level Communist Party officials gathered on Monday for the five-year third plenum meeting. Surprisingly, weak GDP data released on the same day raises the stakes for the policy roadmap that they'll outline. And trading houses face losses of at least $1 billion on cocoa derivatives after major producer Ghana failed to deliver beans this year, forcing traders to liquidate short positions in a rallying market. Meanwhile, we have also been seeing gold prices climbing to a near two-month high, aided by hopes for interest rate cuts from the Fed. Let's get across the charts now with Peter McGuire from XM. Good to have you with us. I mean, we're talking here about what we've been seeing in these interest rate cut bets. Just talk us through what you've seen in terms of CPI and the likelihood there for a potential move from the Fed.
Well, I think it's good morning, Juliette. You know, it's very interesting to see that slowly ticking down, and that's probably, it's still sticky, but as far as the Fed's concerned, we're pretty sure that it's pretty much baked in, about an 80% probability of a September rate cut, unless you see something dramatic happen over the next 2 months, and who knows what can happen. And one of the comforts, I think, from consumption is certainly cheaper energy prices, which have weighed into that and have helped, considering that if you were sitting at $110 a barrel, it would greatly put a handbrake as far as any chance of seeing more softness in the CPI print.
Yeah, indeed. All right. Well, we've got a lot to focus on globally as well. We've been looking at what's happening in the UK labour market too. What are you seeing there?
Yeah, it's a fascinating one because, you know, you're looking as far as where growth numbers. We had best part of 140,000 as far as jobs down over the last 3 months, and we actually had an uptick in the last month. So that was up 18,000. So more people are being put off, and that in turn is creating a little bit of angst there. Now, where it moves forward, you've got that pound sitting just under 1.30 against the dollar, and there's every chance you could see probably a 131 handle. It's had a big move, about 2.5% up over since the start of the month, and that's been fairly solid. So the labour market impacting as far as you're talking about summer in the UK, and they thought they were going to win the cup yesterday. Unfortunately, they didn't. So all of those factors. But it's a good time to be in the UK, they tell me.
Well, indeed. And then is it a good time to be looking at buying pound?
Probably. I think, you know, it's had a good move, and you've got to think of that as far as where that cross rate is going. And that move that you've seen, we've been talking about it for the best part of 3 or 4 weeks now, as far as pound versus the dollar being the optimal trade, and it's certainly delivered. So I don't think traders can take their mind off that in the short run, and just keep very much focused on it.
Okay, let's move then to just having a look at more broadly at what we're seeing in daily currency moves as well. You've got a chart there showing us some of those moves. Here we've got the CAD looking really good, the Canadian dollar.
Absolutely.
And also the Swissy. The yen, it's coming back a little bit after, of course, some big losses. Yeah,
exactly. You know, you're around that 158 handle, and it's been bid down. So, you know, it's 158.5. It's been a dynamic trade, the yen, if you're looking at it over the last 6 to 8 months, Juliette. So I think that you possibly see a little bit further down to that 157 handle. There's a lot of volatility across the currency complex, as you've demonstrated there with the Canadian dollar index still sitting the best part of, 104.40. And I think that there's certainly plenty of opportunity. There's also all the markets down below that. While some are in a positive, there's also the other ones that are looking at, euro, yen, Aussie dollar, US dollar, great opportunities in trading those as well. And I think that there's plenty of attraction as gold continues to soar.
All right, well, one of those currencies there, the euro against the pound, looking a little bit better, but against the dollar there, what are you seeing in terms of those trend lines?
Well, when you're looking at that euro dollar, it certainly jumped to a fresh 1 month high, breaks above the simple moving average of the 200-day, and it's the highest level since about 4th of June. So the oscillator suggests that its bullish forces are strengthening, and all of those components I think are going to drive key opportunities for traders, and that's what they're looking at, and they want to see conviction, and that's what the technical charts really tell us. And that chart is, it's one-way traffic at the moment, so I feel as though it's broken the 200-day, the 50-day simple moving average, and it seems to be onward and upward.
So gold is super interesting. I was talking about this with one of my previous guests who was saying he expects rather another record high. You look at the move since June, above 50-day, the simple moving average. What's the trend breakout like?
It's 24.30 at the moment. I mean, it's been bid up in this morning's trade, and it's been strongly bought up over the last couple of days. And it's pretty hard not to be involved in it, and really, are we going to, I think, test that 24.40 number? And there's every chance you could even take the 24.50 all-time high out. So I think it's got momentum, and there seems to be a lot of interest, not only from a central bank perspective, but certainly retail participation, buying physical gold is very, very strong. And I feel as though silver's something to look at as well.
All right, good to have you on set, Peter, especially after your trip. What was your overseas experience like? What's it sort of looking like in the global economy when you're out and about?
I think it's relatively strong. If I look at Eurozone, it's pretty strong. Certainly the UAE is on fire. I mean, it's a dynamic place, the likes of Dubai and Abu Dhabi. And I think overall, and Singapore was very strong as well economically. So they're all bouncing back quite well, and I think that that's a positive tone for global sentiment.
Yeah, all right, good to have you with us, Peter. Thank you so much. Of course, Peter McGuire joining us here for the trade, and please sure to join us again tomorrow.